The original Danguard Ace, the Japanese version, the one that aired in 1977 before anyone in America got hold of it, carried a storyline so morally complicated, so emotionally heavy, that American broadcast television made a deliberate decision. Number 10. The whole mission was a heist.
Turn. Windstar, go. Yes, sir. Gone.
Here is the detail that reframes every battle in the series the moment you actually sit with it. The Promet Project, humanity's plan to colonize a new world before Earth's ecological collapse, was not targeting some empty rock floating conveniently in deep space. The planet humanity needed was already occupied. It belonged to the Prometheans. The civilization Takuma and Danguard Ace were fighting against was fighting to keep their own home. Every dogfight, every missile barrage, every last-second escape from Emperor Logger's armada was ultimately in service of one brutal reality. Humanity's survival depended on taking someone else's world. That's not a rescue mission. That's an existential collision between two species, both with something to lose. The original Japanese series carried that weight deliberately. American broadcast television, for reasons we'll get into, did not.
Those inferior mortals shall soon feel my power and my wrath.
Number 9. The father was never a traitor.
For launching, sir. Acknowledged.
Every great hero needs a wound that isn't physical. Takuma Ichimonji's was his father's name. Captain Dan was known throughout the story as a traitor, a man who had abandoned his comrades and betrayed the mission. That stigma hung over Takuma from the first episode. His entire arc was built on proving himself worthy in a world that had already condemned the man who raised him. The payoff was one of the more genuinely affecting reveals the series ever delivered. Captain Dan had not betrayed anyone. He had gone undercover, deliberately sacrificing his own reputation, his name, his son's peace of mind, to infiltrate the Promethean Empire from the inside and feed intelligence back to humanity. The traitor was the most committed soldier of all. That is a storytelling move borrowed from classic spy fiction, dropped without ceremony into the middle of a giant robot anime. It gave Takuma's journey an emotional resolution that no mecha showdown could have provided on its own. Father and son, honor restored. The mission justified from the inside. The American broadcast gave you pieces of this. The emotional weight of it, largely gone. Number 8. Earth was already finished.
Leave me alone. Captain.
Before the Prometheans fired a single shot, humanity was already losing. The entire foundation of the Danguard Ace storyline rested on Earth's ecological collapse, an imminent environmental catastrophe that made colonizing a new world not ambition, but necessity. The Promethe project existed because staying was no longer an option. Takuma wasn't piloting a robot for glory. He was the spear tip of his species' survival. This gave every battle a weight that most Saturday morning cartoons simply did not attempt. When Danguard Ace launched off that carrier, the subtext was always, if we lose this engagement, there is no planet to come back to. That is not children's television territory. That is closer to the emotional register of science fiction literature channeled through a transforming robot. The tragic irony the series never let go of, the Prometheans had the exact same existential attachment to Promethe that humanity had to Earth. Two species, two survival clocks, one planet. It would make a prestige streaming series today. In 1977, it ran between cereal commercials.
One of my battle robots has been destroyed?
Yes.
Number 7. The villain wasn't wrong. Emperor Logger, Commander Kazar if you watched Force 5, was the kind of villain whose motivation holds up under scrutiny. The ruler of the Prometheans was not conquering Earth or enslaving humanity out of abstract evil. His entire campaign against Takuma and the Promet Project had one objective: keep humans off his planet, his home, the world his civilization had built and protected. From inside his perspective, he was the defender and humanity was the invasion force with better marketing. That does not make him sympathetic exactly, and the original series does not ask you to root for him. But it makes every confrontation feel like a genuine collision of interests, rather than a cartoon punch-up between good and evil. Lager was not wrong that humanity wanted his world. He was simply ruthless about preventing it. That quality of antagonist, one whose logic you can follow even while opposing every action he takes, was more sophisticated than most Western animation of the era was attempting. Lager made the show function as drama. Without him, it is just action. The American version understood this about half the time. Number 6. The editing room worked overtime.
What a pilot. Captain Mask.
The Force 5 broadcast of Danguard Ace did not just trim a few scenes. It systematically reshaped the show's entire texture, and the process was intentional at every level. The original Japanese series carried storylines with genuine moral complexity, emotional weight, and thematic ambiguity that was clearly built for a broad audience, not exclusively young children. American children's television standards in the late 1970s operated under a different mandate. Anything that felt too nuanced, too emotionally demanding, or too narratively sophisticated for a Saturday morning slot was flagged and adjusted. The result was a version of Danguard Ace that hit harder on the action and lighter on consequence. The people producing Force 5 were not incompetent. They were doing exactly what American broadcast television asked them to do, and doing it thoroughly. But it meant that anyone who watched Force 5 was watching a legitimately different show. Same animation, adjusted depth. Think of it as ordering a film adaptation of a novel and receiving a highlight reel with new narration recorded over it. Functional, entertaining, a curated echo of something that went considerably deeper. What got replaced was not random, it was specific, and the replacement process went further than most fans realize, as the next 3 facts are going to make very clear.
I will fly the Danguard.
Number 5. Every character got a new identity. When Danguard Ace crossed the Pacific, it did not just bring robots and spaceships. It brought an entirely new cast. Takuma Ichimonji, the determined young pilot at the center of everything, became Jean. His father, Captain Dan, held on to the name Dan, which was apparently Western enough to survive the filter. The fearsome Emperor Lager was rebranded as Commander Khazar. Nearly every major character underwent the same process. Japanese names replaced with Western-friendly alternatives that filed the show's origins down to almost nothing. This was not unusual for the era. American distributors in the late 1970s had a consistent strategy of making imported anime feel domestically produced, or at least feel generically international rather than specifically Japanese. The renaming was one layer of that effort. The script rewrites were another. And we're about to get to the third. What makes it strange from today's perspective is the scale of confidence required. They did not just dub the show, they recasted the universe. Jean and Commander Khazar and their renamed world existed in a parallel American dimension, running on the same animation, operating under entirely different rules. Takuma or Jean, both real, different dimensions.
What, you're lying?
Windstar. What, Mr.
Number 4. They replaced the entire soundtrack.
You, but may I ask who you are? I'm the one who has escaped from Krell's grasp.
If renaming every character was a bold move, the music situation takes it to another level. The English dub of Danguard Ace for Force 5 did not translate or adapt the original Japanese musical score. It replaced it completely. New compositions were written and recorded specifically for the American broadcast, designed to sound less distinctly Japanese and more aligned with the feel of Western children's action programming of the period. The original score, created by Toei for the Japanese production, was retired for the US market. This was part of a comprehensive creative overhaul that included the full script rewrite, the character renaming, and the content editing. Every layer of the show that carried a specifically Japanese creative identity was systematically adjusted or replaced. The Force 5 producers were thorough, give them that. The irony is that the original score was doing serious emotional work. underscoring exactly the kind of moral complexity and dramatic weight that the content editing was simultaneously removing. You cannot fully feel the tragedy of an undercover father's sacrifice with the wrong music playing underneath it. Both edits worked together. The bones were extraordinary. The renovation was complete. Number 3. The robot was also a starship. Here is one of the genuinely elegant engineering details of the whole mythology, and it is one the show delivered on visually in a way that stayed with every kid who watched it. Danguard Ace was not purely a humanoid combat robot. It could transform into the Satellizer, a sleek, high-speed spacecraft built for interstellar travel. One configuration for close combat, one configuration for cutting through deep space at velocity. Takuma could transition between the two as the mission demanded, making Danguard Ace one of the more operationally coherent transforming mechs of the entire 1977 era. The dual-form design was not just a toy feature, though it absolutely sold toys. It was narratively justified by the mission itself. When your assignment is to escort a colonization fleet across interstellar space and protect it from alien attack once you arrive, a robot that can only operate on 2 legs is not quite sufficient. The Satellizer transformation was the show acknowledging its own premise with internal logic. In a genre where internal logic was frequently the first casualty, that kind of coherence was genuinely worth noting. The mech fit the mission. The mission required the mech. Number 2. The enemy who defected.
Job to me.
Yes, but a girl might not be able to do the job.
Chauvinist!
Of all the characters in Danguard Ace, the one who generated the most lasting impression among fans was not the hero. It was not the villain. It was the pilot who started on the wrong side and found her way across. Nova, known to Force 5 viewers as Carla, began the series as a formidable adversary operating in service of Emperor Logger's Promedian Empire. She was a genuine threat, not comic relief, not a minor obstacle. A skilled pilot positioned as a legitimate counterpart to Takuma's abilities. Then her arc turned. The series gave her a change of allegiance and a transition into one of Takuma's most important allies. Her journey was not a simple switch. It carried the full weight of what she had fought for and what she was abandoning. That kind of character development in a 1977 mecha anime was ahead of where the genre typically operated. Nova gave the show a human center that action alone could not provide. The American broadcast version included the broad strokes of her arc. The emotional specificity of what the defection cost her, that was among the material that did not survive the edit. She is the reason the most committed Danguard Ace fans are still committed to it decades later. The robot is cool. She made it matter. Number 1. One show was actually 5.
Thank you, but may I ask who you are? I'm the one who has escaped from...
This is the one. The fact that permanently changes how you remember Saturday mornings. Danguard Ace was not a standalone broadcast in North America. It was one of 5 entirely separate Japanese anime series. 5 distinct creative universes with their own characters, histories, and emotional stakes that were packaged, edited, and syndicated together under a single American umbrella title. That title was Force 5. The 5 series were Danguard Ace, Gaiking, Getarobo G, Starvengers, and Grendizer. Each week, a different one aired under the Force 5 banner. 5 different production teams in Japan. 5 separate fictional worlds that had nothing to do with each other. All renamed, rescored, and repackaged into one American product, as though a single studio had produced all of it on purpose. Episodes were cut to fit time slots. Original music was replaced across all 5 series. Character names were westernized throughout. The operation required extraordinary confidence, or extraordinary editorial willingness to treat 5 distinct creative works as raw material for one new product. This is why Danguard Ace feels both familiar and somehow slightly off when you go back to it. You were not watching one show with an inconsistent tone. You were watching 5 different anime universes that had been stitched together and handed to you as a single coherent thing. The show you remember watching did not exist in Japan. It was built here from 5 different sources for a Saturday morning time slot. That is either the greatest television magic trick of the era or the most audacious act of creative repurposing in the history of children's broadcasting. Possibly both.
Why would you want to install obsolete cannons like the Vickers? Because we are...
Bonus fact: humanity actually won. Not every 1970s anime had the narrative discipline to finish its own story, but Danguard Ace delivered a genuine conclusion. The series ended with Takuma piloting Danguard Ace into a final climactic engagement against Emperor Lager, the resolution of everything the show had built across its run. The fight paid off Takuma's personal arc, his father's sacrifice, and humanity's desperate need for a future. The Prometei project reached its conclusion. The victory was earned. For a series that spent its entire run under the weight of civilizational stakes, a dying Earth, an empire defending its home, a son carrying his father's disgraced name, landing the ending with that kind of clarity was not a small achievement. The mission launched, the battles were fought, the planet was secured. Danguard Ace set down for the last time, and humanity had somewhere to go. That is a complete story. In any language, under any title, with any name on the hero's flight suit. So there it is, 10 facts, and a bonus, about a show that was simultaneously more ambitious and more complicated than most of us ever realized we were watching. A dying Earth. A planet that already belonged to someone else. A traitor who was actually the most loyal soldier in the room. An entire soundtrack erased and rebuilt from scratch. 5 anime universes wearing one American name like a borrowed jacket. And somewhere underneath all of that chrome and rocket exhaust, a young pilot named Takuma, or Jean, depending on which dimension you lived in, doing his best to carry a mission too big for one person and a mech versatile enough to try. Danguard Ace deserved more credit than it got. The Force 5 treatment was a product of its industry and its era, but the original series? That was something built with more intention than Saturday morning television ever gave it room to show. Drop a comment. Which fact hit hardest? The 5-in-1 reveal? The father who sacrificed his own reputation? The fact that humanity was cheering for an invasion and nobody mentioned it? Sound off below.